We are in the transition session. Transitions are super important. We feel at OECD, when we look at the guidance and career development systems in many countries, that they often are a bit weak on transitions. Increasingly, they're very good at preparing young people for choices going into university and what they need to do to be able to progress there. But in the transitions actually into work, we see some real problems. And we have evidence that this is a problem because we survey young adults. We've done it in 2 or 3 countries now. Last year in Virginia in the United States, we asked young people, 19 to 26, what parts of career development do you think your school should have given you more help in, a lot more help in? And the sort of things they say is writing a CV, preparing for an interview, understanding how the tax system works, understanding how employers actually recruit, understanding how the welfare system works, understanding how work is changing and skills demanding are changing and new opportunities emerging, and also how to get an atypical job, an atypical of somebody of your gender, your social background. And we find here that nearly 40%, often 40% or more of students say, I wish to give us a lot more support. And we found similar results in the UK when we've done it. We're going to do a similar thing in Spain later this year. And when we look at our career readiness indicators, these are our longitudinal studies, we find that students who take part in CV workshops, interview practice, they go on to do better in the labour market later on. And it's probably because they're learning skills for the first time in that safe place of education. But also, it really requires them to start thinking seriously about, who they are, what they're going to be doing, where they're going to go. So what I would like to do is spend the next hour talking to 3 speakers who can provide us with digital tools, which are addressing just these questions about how we prepare young people for their transitions. I want us to start in the Slovak Republic with Julian Gerhart to talk about the Zmudri project, and Julian, over to you. If you are in the room, put your comments into chat, your questions into chat. There may be opportunity for people to ask questions directly, but it's really important at this stage that any comments or questions go straight into the chat, and I'll be your moderator in making sure that they are addressed. So, Julian, let me hand over to you, and then we'll start this conversation, this discussion. Julian.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you very much for a huge opportunity to present it here. Just the first question, can I share my screen and my presentation? I hope it's possible.
You should be able to.
Okay. Let's do it.
There you go. That's working now.
Okay. So can you see my slides?
We can.
Okay. Amazing. And also switching slide.
Yeah, you need to go into full mode.
Okay. In case my slides get freeze or something, let me know, because sometimes it happens. And I present one slide for 15 minutes and nobody tells me. So okay, thank you very much.
Julian, can you just go into full mode? At the bottom of the screen, you can click the button to the immediate left of the size control. Oh, sorry, in the bottom right.
Bottom right.
That takes into full screen.
Is this one? No.
So you kind of have the the line, the bar where you can go to make your image smaller or bigger, and then immediately to the left of that you have the square with the stick coming out the bottom of it, like a screen, I suppose it's meant to look at.
It should be on a right bottom. Bottom right, right?
Bottom right. But if you're having trouble with that, let's we can read them. So it's best to proceed.
Okay, and you see when I'm switching my slides.
Are you switching your slides now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm afraid it's stuck on my screen.
Wait a sec. I'll try to do it again. maybe if I share my entire screen.
There you go. That's it.
And now can you see?
Yeah. Don't just flick one ahead. Just check that works. Perfect.
Amazing.
Julian, over to you.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the small technical problems. So yes, first of all, my name is Julian Gerhart. Currently, I'm a student at Oxford University, so I'm broadcasting from Oxford, and it's a great opportunity for me to talk about our project Zmudri and what we learned through it about career education. So first of all, I'll start with the question. And imagine you're sitting in a classroom and teacher is explaining something really, really boring and uninteresting. And please raise your hand, at least in your rooms, because I can't see you all. If you ever ask yourself a question, how am I going to use this in my real life? I bet all of you raised your hands, at least because all of you experienced this at least once in your life. And if you haven't raised your hand, probably you're lying, because we all experienced this situation in our lives. And I was frustrated young student. I was about 20 years old. I went to study to Denmark, and I decided that I really want to help educational system back home in Slovakia. So I returned, and together with my 5 friends, we co-founded a non-profit platform called Zmudri. From the beginning, it was just a free time project, but then it evolved into our full-time profession, and with a staff of about 10 to 15 people. And our main focus was to create video courses and materials for young people to prepare them better for life, for real adult life, because they had a feeling that schools do not provide that sort of help. And we focused on the topics of like practical things that you need in your real life, such as financial literacy, career stuff, so how to write a CV, but also we focused a lot on civic education, civic issues, media literacy. So the span of our courses is pretty wide. So yeah, well, we decided to launch this project, and the focus, I would say, we focus on 2 main streams. The first one is creating content and materials for teachers and schools. And the second one is creating content materials directly to young people and reach them on social media and in the places where they basically live. So we start with the teacher and the school one. So the first one is that we have a platform, zmudri.sk. It's a website full of video courses, and the website is mostly focused on teachers. So teachers can go there, register for free. We have more than 11,000 registered teachers, and they have access to courses, materials, quizzes, which they can use whenever and however they want in their classes. Usually they use it as a supplement to their materials, but many times they don't have any textbooks or any materials on that topic, so they're basically reliant only on our content that we have. In terms of, as I said, we have the variety of topics is quite wide. So we have also media literacy, civic education. But in terms of careers, this is the topics that we cover. We try to cover the entire journey of a young person who's thinking about a career. So in the beginning, when the young person is thinking, how should I choose my career? What do I want to do? Who am I, and what exactly and when am I heading? And then secondly, when the young person starts to search for a job, he or she needs quite assistance. So we provide a lot of tips where to search. Then of course, writing a CV, huge topic, and still not covered enough topic. Writing a cover letter, many times neglected, or video CV, which is kind of a new trend in hiring. Job interview, online job interview, also a new phenomenon which risen in mainly in the COVID era. Employment contract. So what is an employment contract? What are your rights? What are your responsibilities? What to avoid? What sort of tips and tricks You need to learn before you sign any employment contract, very important topic. Also, when you go to work abroad for, let's say, just during summer, during vacation, when you go, let's say, just pick up apples on a farm or whatever to foreign countries, what should you avoid and how should you approach it? But also volunteering is also a way of developing your career or choosing a high school. So many topics, and we try to cover the entire journey. So we create courses which explain in a very easy and entertaining way about these topics, but we also have methodological materials that sort of guide teachers how to teach these topics or how to cover these videos on their classes. So it's sort of a complete package of materials. We also, as I said, we're predominantly in a digital space, but we also try to visit schools personally. In 2024, we aim to visit 100 schools. Here, we're mostly with the visits, we're focusing more on the critical thinking part and civic education, but that is also relevant for career development because you cannot really neglect one part and focus on the other part. You have to, when you want to be a good career, when you want to have strong career choices, then you really have to be also a good critical thinker. So it's very important for us to go to schools personally because we see the young people, we see the teachers, how they interact, and how can we develop our materials better. We also do have a development program for schools and teachers. So basically, a teacher chooses area of interest. So let's say career area of interest, and they have to use our courses and materials in a structured way. And we measure some sort of attitudes or some sort of ideas what students have before they start the program and after, and we watch whether there's any impact or any shift in attitudes. As you can see, we're trying to cover entire Slovakia, and after 3 years, we have more than 250 teachers and schools participating in the program. And after they participate, they receive a certificate, which all of the students and schools really like. It's one of the biggest learnings that certificates and diplomas are important sort of incentive for schools and teachers. We also do have webinars for teachers where we help teachers develop their skills, mostly in innovative teaching methods using digital materials, mostly ours. So because it's very important to not only teach the students or help teachers teach the students, but also teach teachers in innovative methods, and especially those who are very open to learn new things. So we're still in the area of helping schools and teachers. And this is the second part that we do, that we create content materials, which is directly for young people, where we reach them online on TikTok and Instagram mostly, and also YouTube. This is also a very important part because you need to be able to reach young people where they are, and predominantly it's internet, it's digital sphere. So we try to post on a daily basis new content, either on social media or our Gen Z news website, where we focus on these topics, and we have more than 80,000 followers across all social media. So it's very important for us to build those two approaches, teachers and schools on one side and directly young people on the other side. We also try to get ourselves exposed in the media as some sort of an experts in education, and we often get invited for interviews in the TV shows or some sort of a media outlets. I'm not saying here because I want to brag myself or we want to say that how awesome we are that we are in the media. It's mostly because it's very important to build reputation and credibility in the eyes of teachers. This is a very delicate times that we're living in. Trust is very eroded gradually. So it's very important to build this trust in front of teachers, and appearing in the media and being present there and talk about these topics gives you very strong credibility in front of in teachers' eyes. So it's very important not to neglect this part. And after 5 or 6 years of running the nonprofit and doing this activity, it really, really helped us. And many times teachers, well, we gained the trust of teachers just because they saw us somewhere on the TV or in the media interview. It's also important to build a relationship with partners. We also do partner with municipalities in Slovakia, which are directly managing high schools in Slovakia. So we mostly focus on the regional focus, not going just through the ministry. And that's how we build the trust, and also through the partners that we have. Again, a very important aspect of building the trust. And then again, not to brag myself or anything, but we also managed to receive an award in European Union, which again helped us very much in building trust in front of the teachers, because when you receive an award in a big institution such as European Union, and you receive the award directly in the Parliament in Brussels, that really helps you build the narrative that teachers could trust you, trust your content, trust what you do, and therefore they can use your materials. This is something that you build for years and years and years, and you have to be very strategic about it. Yeah, all these prizes and media and the content is all amazing, but it's all basically useless without an evidence or some sort of a proof that what you do makes some sort of a sense and impact. So these are some of this is just an example of the numbers that we have, that young people really do feel that the materials help them to prepare for adult life. They really, after using our materials in classes, they demand more of these materials. They ask teachers to use it more. Teachers themselves tell us that we really support them, that, for example, during COVID, they felt neglected by the public institutions, that nobody cared about them, nobody helped them, nobody supported them, but the nonprofits were there. Nonprofits helped them to teach online, which is very challenging. And yes, as you can see, the 6-month impact assessing program on a sample of 2,000 students. It was again in the civic and media literacy issue or area, but I think it's also, when we talk about career development, when we're talking about young people being able for job market, we also have to focus on these skills because they're an essential part of a strong workforce. So my biggest maybe message or takeaway for you, for all the people who are in the area of some sort of career transitions, or in the area of helping young people to be better prepared for job force, are these three. We have many learnings, of course, but these are the main 3 ones to pinpoint. The first one is that the feedback that we receive a lot from teachers is that they like us because we speak the language that Gen Z is speaking, and teachers do not speak the language. So it's very important to speak the language of young people, and just not only like verbally, but also visually through our video content, using some sort of memes and jokes that they understand. It's very important to understand how digital sphere works, because that's where the young generation lives. That's why we're also doing these TikToks, these YouTubes, these Instagrams, because it's very important to access them where they are. And they are not only in school. After school, they are mostly online. And of course, super important learning for us, empower teachers, because they are the biggest allies if you want to help young people to transition better in their careers, or basically to build a better workforce. Teachers is your biggest ally, and through empowering them, through giving them the tools, through listening to them, visiting them locally in their regions, they're super grateful if you visit them personally. They really like using new methods and new materials. They will become your big ally, and they will help you also on your journey. So it's a sort of a two-way process. So these are our biggest learnings. I hope that it was some sort of helpful for this audience. We are open to any sort of collaboration and partnerships, so please let me know if there's anything I can help you with, or anything you would like to partner with. Thank you for your attention, for your time, and looking forward to hear your questions and your ideas.
Well, thank you so much, Julian. It's really comprehensive, I think, what you do there in kind of the Slovak Republic. Do you want to just take down your slide? I wonder if we could just focus on the question about CVs, because our next presentation from Hong Kong is in the same area, and I think there'd be a nice continuity. And I wonder if you could just talk us through the process through which, you know, a young person can use your digital resource to create a CV for themselves. And what are, you know, is this a matter of just making it easier through terms of access, or are there things which you can do which would be more difficult to achieve if you're just using a very traditional, you know, create it on your word processor through a Word document approach? So I wonder if I could ask you to focus on that, and that'd give us a helpful perspective.
From our experience, of course, this is our experience, and people have different experiences, and maybe somebody would say a different sort of opinion on the matter. But we feel like it's not about the digital tools that will help you to build your CV. It's mostly about the content and the way you think about your CV as a young person. Young people have basically no clue and no idea what should they put on their CV and what they shouldn't put on their CV. I also worked before launching this. I worked in a job work company, the largest in Slovakia, and I worked on an events team where our job was to organize career fairs for entire population. So I had an opportunity to also see a lot of job applicants, a lot of employers, and the amount of like badly written CVs where you see totally inappropriate photos on the CVs, or totally inappropriate content that definitely does not belong on the CV, was just staggering. And every time we are at school and we talk about this, we see how young people are surprised about they're just surprised that they cannot put a selfie from bathroom on their CV because they just thought it's normal. Like I've got this selfie on my Instagram, on my social media, so why can't I just put it in my CV? So it's mostly about like teaching them kind of, for us, basic rules, but for the young people, it's not so basic. So this is where I see it's still the biggest problem, and schools do not provide that. We're not focusing on the technical part, like giving them some sort of an app or a platform where they could build a custom, beautiful, graphically designed CV. It's mostly about the content. And teachers themselves, they have no idea how actually good CV looks like. Sometimes we received a feedback 1 year ago from a teacher that why we don't say that they have to sign their CV, which is, signing a CV was a thing maybe 20 years ago. I don't think anyone is signing their paper or putting their signature on a CV anymore. So the teachers themselves are pretty much struggling this year as well.
That's really helpful. So I think we can kind of conceptualize this as providing a kind of like an additional resource for schools, and the fact that you're working so closely with schools, you know, shows that they're seeing value in being able to provide an efficient way of offering something more to students, where they can have confidence from it because, you know, of the position which you're occupying between the economic community and the educational community. That's super interesting. Stay where you are, Julian, because we're going to encourage people to add questions and comments into the chat, and if we have time, we'll sort of have a little panel at the end. But I want to imagine in your minds, you're in Slovakia, and you're going to go east all the way over towards Hong Kong, where I'm going to welcome Brian Cheng and Stephen Ngai. Brian's from the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charitable Trust, which has developed and supported a wide range of career development activities. Here we've got a model, particularly of a CV program, development program, which I think is going to follow on very neatly. So Stephen and Brian, over to you. We need your slides to go into full mode, if you wouldn't mind, and the floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you, Anthony. So I'm Stephen Ngai, as Anthony mentioned, Director and Principal Investigator of the Clap at JC project. And together with Brian, Today, we will share with you about some digital intervention for career guidance, particularly, as Anthony mentioned, what we developed through the project in Hong Kong. So for this next slide, we'd like to first of all make an acknowledgement. So which was derived from part of a larger evaluation study of the club at JC project in Hong Kong, created and funded by the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charity Trust. So the next slide, we would like to first of all share with you some of the background for our project, the reason why we lead an intervention. So we all know that school to work transition is really important for young people because they need to move from school and then enter the labor market. So during this process, they need to make some important decision that we will different kind of difficulties, and there will be different kind of consequences. Like individual level, there will be higher risk of being stuck in unemployment, underemployment, or low well-being, low life satisfaction. More importantly, at the macro socioeconomic level, we can see that there are many consequences like antisocial behavior and increased social costs. So in the next slide, we'd like to share with you about the context of Hong Kong. So Hong Kong as an being affected and heavily influenced by globalization and advanced technology, which brings uncertainty and unpredictability. So we know that the transition becoming more tortuous, longer, and less controllable. So in our city, we are also recovering from the COVID pandemic. So here are some figures to share with you. Like in early 2022, the unemployment rate among young people are actually much higher than that of the general population. So in our city, we like to draw your attention that there is a particular group of young people, or in equilibrium, NUI, their special group needing more attention because they're at higher risk of becoming not in education, employment, or training because of their disadvantaged background, like growing up from low-income family. So they may include young offenders, young mothers, ethnic minority youth, and also young people with special education needs. So this different group of young people, they require special attention and some support. So here we'd like to move on to introduce to you about our project and also our digital intervention for young people. Brian, I pass the time to you.
Thank you, Professor Ngai. Hi, everyone. This is Brian. I'm the Director of Business at Club at JC, but also another role, I'm the CEO of Generation Hong Kong, a nonprofit here in Hong Kong as well. So we are one of the partners under Club at JC, and here I'm going to talk a little bit about what Club at JC is. So Club at JC, as Anthony mentioned earlier, we are a project funded by the Jockey Club, which is one of the top 10 charities in the world. So Club is actually like, if we want to support young people to go through the school to work transition, it could not just involve education. It has to bring together education, business, and community together. And also we introduce a systematic framework called the benchmarks, which is to empower schools to build quality CLD provisions and ultimately to achieve meaningful lives and make contribution, positive contribution to society. So there are different artifacts that we have built throughout the Club at JC project. I'm going to introduce a few of them, but more importantly, later on will be the CV 360 that Professor I just mentioned. So first of all, usually there are a couple of stages that we want to bring them through, which is management. And throughout all these cross-cutting, enabling environment is the most important part, especially how we actually support young people to go through that journey. And that said, this is an important tool that we developed, which is called CV 360. The 360 is basically like 360 degrees. And when we are thinking about 360 degrees, the most important part here is like what have been not emphasized enough in a Hong Kong context. I think like globally, like we talk a lot about like how AI technology has transformed different jobs, or like how young people perceive themselves. But an additional lens here in Hong Kong is like focuses a lot on academic qualifications. So like traditionally, when people put on their CV, like they put a lot of emphasis on like where I graduate from what university, what subject. And that means like it gives a very little amount of time for them to talk about their non-traditional experience. When we look at talents, we don't just look at their academic success. We look at their paid and unpaid experience on top of their academic achievement. And that's why like we see like a very important thing here when we put together an intervention, the CV 360, it actually like expand the notion of work, talent, and success. And one of the key elements there is like VASK model. VASK stands for value, attitude, skills, and knowledge. And throughout unpacking this VASK, not only on the young people side, but also on the employer side, what we have aspired to do here is really about how we can unpack the job roles and unpack young people's strengths in a more systematic way. So the CV 360 is a digital tool because we put this CV on a website. So basically, like young people can select a template from the platform, but they could also use their own template, the CV template. It's about questions for them to consolidate both their paid and non-paid experience. And after that, throughout unpacking their paid and non-paid experience, the most important is what kind of values, attitudes, skills, and knowledge that they have. Once they have put in all these information, then we have a CV 360 built for them. And other than, like, because VASK sometimes can be a little bit abstract for them, like, oh, when I don't understand myself that well, how I could find out a lot more about my VASK despite I have my paid and non-paid work experience. So there is also a tool that we developed on VASK. First step is like, find out your VASK. There are questions that we prompt young people to be thinking about, like, where do you want to spend your free time? What is your favorite character? What is the animal that best describes you? And from the answers, the second step is really to come up with a set of value, attitude, skills, and knowledge that they could choose from based on what they have answered. And from there, like there is a VASK card, especially for young people, for NUI, the professor I mentioned. A lot of times they have very low perception about what their strength is and how they could really unpack the personal experience. So we see this test actually very helpful for them to be thinking through their favorite, for example, like character or favorite, activities during the holiday that actually helps them on that as well. And just now we mentioned another term, which is eNow, which is expanded notion of work. And that is a eNow mobile game app that we designed for them, which provide a more interactive and interesting way for young people to understand concepts of career and life development. Especially because in traditional Hong Kong environment, like career and life development means like what kind of subject that I have to take from my university or what kind of jobs that I want to get. And they are limited by what they imagine or what teachers tell them about. So the eNow mobile game app aims to give them a more holistic view of like what different career pathways are. And of course, like the jobs and the VASK data bank, where it's unfortunately it's in Chinese, but then we are like, I can translate those to you, which is like the first one on top is a Gerhart assistant, where they are supporting elderly through technology. And the second one is on town planning. And that's why we engage Chinese University of Hong Kong, another IAP center, to unpack the VASK of over like close to 100 job roles in order for young people to be thinking a lot more from that perspective. And ultimately, the overarching impact of CV 360, a few key taglines that we have here. One is how we can broaden the definition of talents, which facilitate talent match, because employers are suffering to find the right people they need as well. So using VASK can actually help them not only on recruitment, but also on the longer term on coaching, staff development, which I'm going to share more examples later on. The third one is more productive and happier workforce. Once they have understood, once young people can understand a lot more about their ability, aspiration, and the values, it also contributes ultimately to a fairer society and promotes upward mobility. So later on, we'll talk a little bit about the quantitative impact and a little bit qualitative impact. And because Professor I an expert in the quantitative part, I'll pass the time back to Professor I to talk about some outcome.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So because we are now accumulating some longitudinal data, so here I'd like to share with you some of our findings. So in our study, we follow young people for 16 months, and one of the indicators is called the YCDC, Youth Development Career Competence, so which measure young people's ability to be active navigator of their career pathway. So here you can see from month 0 to month 4 and month 16 across 3 time points. You can see for the intervention group receiving intervention like CV360, they score much higher in terms of YCDC. So next slide. We further have conducted the repeated Mann-Cover, so to examine whether that is some significant difference. And we also control some demographic variables here. So you can see the result is highly significant, showing the impact on the intervention group. So next slide. We have some more indicators like the career and life development hope. So measuring young people's ability to sustain motivation and generate pathway to achieve goals. Here you can see we are seeing similar result, higher score for the hope score. Next slide. The result is highly significant with the repeated Mann-Cover analysis. So next slide. Another indicator is about career adaptability, young people's resource to achieve some successful transition. So here you can see we also achieve similar findings. Next slide. Mann-Cover result also reflect similar pattern. Next slide. So we further done some sequence analysis to identify the pathway of young people because we have longitudinal data to follow for 16 months. So eventually we come up with 5 clusters. So you can see some top 4, there are some positive outcomes like employment, entrepreneurship, vocational education and training, generic education, civic leisure. We think to young people, intensive pursuit of interest during the leisure time. There is some less positive pathway like NET. So next slide. So here you can see regarding the intervention group and control group, we have for the employment cluster, all of them are coming from the intervention group receiving the CV360. But then for the NET group, all of them are coming from the control group, not receiving the intervention. We further extend it into some predictive model. So you can see that there's really high probability for those falling into the employment after they receive the CV360. And the result is also highly significant. Next slide. So we have further collect some qualitative findings through case study and also focus group. So for the NUI, one major theme we identify is enhancing their self-understanding and career readiness, like increased self-confidence, enhanced employment opportunities and competitiveness. And also the social worker also comment that it is a really important and useful tool for career guidance. So here we like to share with you 2 case examples for the NUI. The first one is that we have young people being institutionalized by the correctional department because of committing some offense. So after discharge, he used the CV360 to showcase his all-round profile, like his talent in art and design. Eventually, he secured an internship and also an employment opportunities in a design company. Another example is that we use CV360 to facilitate some meaningful encounter between young people and also employers and community mentors during a career fair. How do we do that? We ask young people to reflect on their talent, interest, and strength, and also to showcase them using the CV360. At the same time, we ask the employer and community mentor to try to share the major attribute they're looking for in their particular profession or field, and also they share their real life story. Eventually, we can facilitate this kind of very meaningful and interesting interactive encounter between young people and also the employers and community mentors. So Brian, now I'd like to pass time to you to share some more stories.
Yeah, we don't have much time,
I.
so if Brian, if you could wrap up in the next minute or 2, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you, Anthony. I'll do it really quick. So Professor, I mentioned about like different types of young people, like from high school dropout to hidden youth, that's like for 4+ years not engaged in education and employment, and also a career shifters, young career shifters. I think throughout this slide, the most important is really about how employers have broadened their perspective, especially in emerging job role. Like among these 3 young people, 2 of them are in data engineer role, which is like very like a new trend that's actually like under digital transformation. And the employers actually like say they used to hire a lot about people with qualifications. But then like basically like with CV 360, it actually broadened the definition of talents, broadened the talent pool for them, and also like how they have been putting the VASK concept not only at the moment of hiring, but also the development process, inspiring them to see young people's personal characteristics more comprehensively. So I would like to wrap up by these few stories, because they are basically the young people that actually have a life-changing experience because of how C360 helped them with unpacking their personal experience, but also employers are saying like this actually helps them. They could ask the right questions in interviews. They could unpack their job role a lot more easily. They could also develop talents based on VASK in a more comprehensive way. So there are lots of references, but I'm sure like there'll be like different examples, exchanges that we could do later on. Without occupying too much of the time, I'll pass it back to Anthony. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, and thank you so much, Stephen. As you're talking, it kind of reminds me of this as a body of academic research about the realistic job preview, and within that, we find that employers who are more open about the nature of their job. We find that the people who go into those jobs stay longer, they're more happier in those jobs. But I think we're seeing this perhaps a model the other way around, a realistic candidate preview as well, and being able to find that improved matching. I want to go on to Fotini next, but we might go on to more like 20 past at the end here, because we had a bit of delay at the beginning. And if we have time, I really want to pick up Cynthia's question, which you'll see in the chat, which is about the private-public collaboration and how we can make sure that that we have independently developed programs which are actually used and valued by schools themselves. So let's go straight on to Fotini, and then hopefully we'll have a few minutes at the end where we can talk about some of these cutting issues. So let's go back from Hong Kong all the way west, and Fotini is joining us this morning from Greece.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good morning from Greece. We're actually in the summertime already. Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to give you a quick overview of some digital practices here in Greece. I hope you see my presentation now.
Can you just put that onto full screen, and then we're good to go? Oh, we've lost your presentation.
Lost. Let me do it again.
Sorry, maybe
now it should be okay.
My learning is that you should share your entire screen, not just PowerPoint. Because I had the same issue as you did as you're having now.
Yeah, I did. Can you see it now?
Well, let's proceed to this. We can see your forthcoming slides, but if you can move them forward.
Yeah, I can. Okay, I'm just picking up from the points that made by the previous speakers and saying before showing you this collection of practices that about digital about career transitions. Some things are quite important. Of course, the connection to the world of work and all the opportunities that are there for young people. The awareness, the self-awareness of their skills, and especially at this critical point of transitions, and a very important issue about how to reach everyone, not only the mainstream population, but all the target groups, and most vulnerable or disadvantaged groups that also need to be reached. And the broader engagement of different actors, not only schools and parents and teachers, but also the employers and local actors in the local areas. And when we design the tools, as it was mentioned about Generation Z and the younger generations, that of course they are more tech savvy. They live in the digitalized world, as we heard already. So we need to take advantage of this and to increase the access, to increase the extroversion of career guidance. It is very important to reach those people, those target groups, and to make best use of all the digital opportunities. And especially, we see that in career guidance, gamification, simulation, with the help of virtual reality, augmented reality, can make a difference and help to increase the responsiveness of career guidance to this new digitalized environment. Actually, here in Greece, we are in a good timing because it is increasingly a shift to a digitalized school, and it was recently announced by the Ministry of Education, giving more digital services to students. And there is also a focus in career guidance, e-career guidance tools by the Ministry of Education. And we are in the process of updating the practitioner's occupational profile, introducing also new tasks regarding this digitalization and new skills and everything that is needed, which is very important in order to make things happen. So I'm giving you a quick overview of some digital practices. Some of them are completed, and some of them are in progress of development, and in many of them I was involved. Here
Sorry,
we
Fotini,
have
we're still seeing your very first slide.
Oh, right. I have.
Yeah, I think maybe Julian's advice is good here, that if you,
maybe
if you stop
can
sharing, but then reshare your whole, reshare your screen and then move.
Do you want me to stop sharing?
I think that'd probably be best. I think it's important that we can see your slides. So if you stop sharing now and then share screen, and then if you then sort of like, so you have the option to share screen when you hit share, and then share your slides on your computer.
You don't see it now.
There you go. So I think you can move now and hopefully be able to make them full size.
Now, can you see it?
We can, and you can move them now, but we just need you
to leave it as it is so you can see it and I can move it also. And
okay, let's go with that.
Okay, so here you see a practice called Future Time Traveler. It's a 3D virtual career game. It includes scenarios, and the users can move in different escape rooms, and they use a time machine to be transferred in 2050, getting to know the future world of work and occupations, professions of the future. So here we have the simulation and gamification, and the same happens with the C game, another career game for younger children, 12 to 14, a city of occupations, 600 occupations related to Industry 4. And it's a virtual tour in the city, and the users can build some buildings in the city and get to know the professions. And by the time they do that, they also take hidden tests. So the system itself suggests occupations according to the profile of the users. But these were for the mainstream young generation, the mainstream population. Now, I wanted to show you some practices regarding vulnerable groups. So there was a program about migrants and refugees. All of them are transnational programs, but most of them initiated by Greece. So Nadine was one of these practices targeting migrants and refugees, trying to offer a stop shop about migrants and including also career guidance and information of social services, employment opportunities, building CV portfolio. And in the career guidance interface, there was two possibilities. One was skill assessment based on specific psychometric tests that were built in order to help the user to extract a profile about hard and soft skills. But what was interesting here was that AI and deep learning techniques were applied to match the outcomes of the psychometric assessment to playing a game like Tetris. And in the end, when the user played the game Tetris, there was also the opportunity to extract the skills profile of the user. So that means that everything ran very quickly because of the process that we need for receiving migrants and refugees in the hosting countries. Most of the countries are from the European South, so we understand that it is very important. And of course, all accompanied by chatbots, so the users can receive information on several aspects of social inclusion and how to navigate in the hosting countries. The problem of reaching persons with disabilities is also another area. A new tool is is in progress from the learning from disabled. Do you see? No, I think I show you another picture. So, no, now you see youth share about needs, reaching needs, young people not in education, training, and employment. This is a holistic approach. Here we have the combination of training, e-learning, different portals were combined to offer holistic service here, an e-learning platform for training in social economy and sharing economy, and some important areas in this domain, and a platform for connecting to employers, offering e-mentoring and coaching from employers to users, niche users that were coming from disadvantaged areas from the European South, countries and coastal areas difficult to reach. So that was really important. And all these were also accompanied by a European employment monitor, a youth employment monitor, to track the employment prospects of young people. And it was a tool for policymakers, guidance practitioners to understand how young people, how needs are doing with their employment rates, and what are the opportunities offered for them in these areas. And of course, career guidance and counseling from the employment centers by these established in these countries, Greece, Italy, Spain, and Cyprus. Youth Share was developed by the University of Aegean in Greece, involving several partners from these countries. And one of the aspects was to try to reach young people needs. So the employment centers had this responsibility to liaise with educational providers, with schools, with teachers, and trying to involve young people in this whole initiative. The next project is about persons with disabilities. It's in progress, and the goal here is to present all the new opportunities that are there in the labor market for persons with disabilities through an adapted labor market information career guide and a digital system that will include all these opportunities. And now the process, the development of the digital system is in progress. We have already the career guides involving all the latest labor market trends and what are these opportunities for persons with disabilities. We know from research that there are very little opportunity existing for this specific target group. So this is very important.
Fotini, just have 2 more minutes.
Yeah, the digital system will include the career guidance interface with career assessment tools, vetting portfolio, prepare for job interview, all these things that are very important. And for the last, I want to also to say some things that are very important from these digital tools. There are a lot of opportunities, as we said, but there are very important challenges that we should take into account. How we will maintain the face-to-face counseling. We don't want all these tools to take the floor and to provide face-to-face counseling, so that the engagement of career practitioners and make them feel the ownership of these tools is very important. The other important aspect is the funding, as it was mentioned. I think that we have funding and the tools are built, but when the funding is over, then we need to maintain the sustainability of these practices, which is very important. And of course, we need to have the career guidance practitioners be involved in the whole process and be equipped with the specific new skills that will be required in order for these tools to be active in the school, within the career guidance practice, and not for the children, for the young people to be left alone with these tools in order to take the full advantage in the career development process. So there's a shift from career management to career empowerment, how to use these tools and career development and how to make the best of it. Thanks a lot for this opportunity, and I would take any requests and questions.
Thank you so much, Fotini. As with, if you could maybe stop sharing your slides now, that'd be great. And then I'm just going to take 5 minutes because in Europe, people are going to go for lunch. And then we need to be back in time for our digital career fair later on. But I just want to pick up this one point, and Cynthia from Sedefop made the comment in the chat. Certainly sort of like Julian, certainly sort of like Brian and Stephen are involved in initiatives which are not funded and governed by governments. You know, they are taken part outside. And I think Fotini, that applies as well to so many of the initiatives which you were talking about, which are cross country, sort of like collaborations. So we're putting in place these digital resources, and we're hoping that schools can use them. But what really needs to be in place to optimize that relationship between the educational users, the school users, young people as users, and yourselves as external organizations which are developing resources which you hope will be used and are of value. But how can we optimize the chances of that alignment working, that public-private partnership working as effectively as possible? I don't know if anybody's got any perspectives on this. Stephen, I see you nodding, so I'm going to ask you first, and then I'll go around the table. I'll ask if you could just maybe 1 minute on your perspective about what needs to be in place to make that private-public collaboration effective.
Anthony, I think from the Club of JC project, I think it's really important to have good stakeholders engagement. So in our case, we have some advisory committee, and we have engaged the government department, and they have senior government official in our advisory committee. So we can, through the government bureau, we can reach out to school. And we also engage the local secondary school. Because we have some committee among the principals. So we have this kind of network. At the same time, in the community, we have broad network with the NGOs. So eventually, with this kind of platform, we can reach out to different parties. And I think most important of all, when we talk about digital intervention, it's really important to enable young people, especially disadvantaged students and young people, they have access to the technology. So in our case, because we have good groundwork with the NGO and also with the school, they can provide this kind of access with some affordable kind of tools and also accessibility to young people. And I think people work is really important.
Yeah, so I can imagine that stakeholder engagement is going to win the confidence of government, but also be a mechanism for ensuring quality standards, ensuring appropriateness of provision. Stephen, you have the advantage of working one of the largest charities in the world, where government's always going to be probably interested in talking to you. Julian, you started as a small NGO. What's your perspective about how we can best make the private-public partnership work?
Well, that's not a million, but $1 billion question. It's very, very hard. Yeah, and I could talk like for an hours about it, but maybe if you are a small entity as we are, the first step, and I think a lot of nonprofits or a lot of small entities forget about this step, is to understand the entire system and the stakeholders. Who are they? Where they come from? What they want? What is their goal in this entire issue? Who is the one who makes the decision? Who is the one in the power? And just spend a lot of time understanding this, because we oftentimes jump into conclusions and jump into like specific actions without understanding the system and without really knowing who stands for what. So that will be probably my biggest learning among many.
Yeah. And Fotini, what's your perspective on this, about how you can ensure that this collaboration works well?
I think it's important to give the opportunity for involving the end users. In most of these programs, schools were involved. By this process, the collaboration between the school and external actors, employers, or other entities dealing with the development of these tools makes everything better. It gives, it expands the opportunities for collaboration. And I think it's important when the students themselves take part in the piloting process of these tools, because the piloting process is important. So to get feedback, to be able to develop services that respond to the needs of the users. So by this involvement and consultation with the end users, the teachers, the guidance practitioners, we start a collaboration process, and of course, apart from this, we need to establish a collaboration with a central administration of the different ministries or different actors at the local level. We don't have to forget the local level, the local actors, municipalities, or other organizations that are active in local areas. So there are different ways to establish this collaboration, and official collaboration, but also unofficial collaboration to give the opportunity to the end users, the parents, the youngsters to get to know of these initiatives and these tools that are there for them.
I think the common thread across all those answers is about, real, genuine collaboration and engagement with the educational community and with the users. And, that can be done in different ways. And I just, as we finish now, I want to highlight one of the examples or practices which we have on Odyssey, on the observatory, which is the Careers Portal Island. And we have this group of national contact points, experts in policy and practice and research in their own countries. And they met earlier this year, and they highlighted a lot of the programs which they really liked. And they picked out that one. And that one is developed, was initially developed by career guidance counselors working in schools. And that's sort of like organic, sort of like development of resources, which really help them in their jobs. But I can see here in the way that we talk about these three models, we have perhaps externally driven initially, but working in sort of like true, authentic collaboration with the actual users of the system. And we have to make sure that they are, they're going to be happy with the content, they're going to be happy with the technical approach, they're going to be happy with the support which they receive, in order for this to provide genuinely additional support for educationalists in schools. So we've had 3 papers this morning, which are all about transitions, 3 examples of practice. So 2 of them are available on Odyssey at the moment. You can go and read more about them. CV 360 is going through the final stages of editing. That's going to be up very soon. And I think they offer us a perspective on something which schools historically are weak at, in sort of like enabling that immediate connection of young people into the labour market. And we can see a way that technology can be seen to add value. I mean, we've got some emerging evaluations studies, and thank you very much, Stephen, for sharing those in the chat. More will emerge, but I think you've given us a lot to think about. And I'd like to thank everybody who's joined this session, and remind you that in 1 hour's time, at 1:30 Paris time, we're going to start our career guidance digital fair, where you're going to have the opportunity to pick and choose who you want to interact with and speak with. And see those practices in practice. Have a good break. Make sure you have something nice to eat if it's lunchtime for you. If it's a different time of the day, well, enjoy a very nice coffee or a relaxing cup of tea. That's what we do in England. So thanks so much, everybody. If you leave this room, and you can click leave room at the bottom of the page, you'll go back to our main screen, and that's where we'll pick things up in 1 hour's time. So let me thank Stephen and Brian and Julian and Fotini, and see you all in 1 hour's time. Thank you.
Thank you.